Today at Commander Replay, we get our first look at Winota, Joiner of Forces. Is she insane? Find out next on Commander Replay. We've got two new Patreon supporters. We've got Lannis and we've got Gerrard. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. And be sure to use the TCG affiliate player link if you're buying Ikoria and Commander 2020 cards, as it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. And finally, if you want to sign up to play paper webcam games with me for the cost of $10, please check the Eventbrite link in the description below. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Winota, Joiner of Forces today, and today's deck will be a $100 budget deck list. Take a look at this opening hand. It's a one-lander. Oh, Dowsing Dagger. Makes it tempting. Does make it tempting, but we should mulligan. Into another one-lander. Awesome. Awesome. We're off to a good start here. 36 lands in the deck. Lots of ramp, probably like 11 to 12 pieces of ramp and 2 things that find lands. So mulligan down to 6. Well, I guess we're keeping that one. Hope we draw a land. Put is Mob Rule going to the bottom? No, let's put Hour of Reckoning to the bottom, because Hour of Reckoning not the best against Gerrard, and also not the best against Winota. Mob Rule, on the other hand, may just win the game. Scry Temple for the Gerrard opponent. There's a Plains, so it looks like we'll get to play Magic today. That's exciting. Play the Plains, tap out, pass. And let's take a look at what we're playing today. So we got a brand new card out of Ikoria, and that is Winota, Joiner of Forces, 4 mana for a 4/4. Whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I think this commander is going to have the ability to spiral out of control pretty quickly. So I'm excited to see what we can do today. Again, we're playing a budget deck list. It's something I want to start doing a bit more of. So I'm going to be doing that with the Ikoria release. And just as a note, the commander product won't be available online until sometime in May, probably late May is the last that I heard. So right now I'm only able to play Ikoria cards. Brings it back to our turn. There's a Hero of Bladehold. Well, opponent's got 2 lands in play. Hopefully someone makes their 3rd land drop, and then we're into this Oreskos. Play the Signet. Now, if we catch a land off the top, we can go Hero of... Yeah, we can just go straight into Hero of Bladehold, which is super sweet. Hero of Bladehold's so good. There are places to spend money in this deck, and Hero of Bladehold's about $5. That was one of the ones I wanted to keep in. It was getting tough. I kept Aurelia in the deck, and Aurelia is like $8 when you're on a budget. That's a lot. Especially when there are other extra combat spells available. She just happens to be the best one. So didn't want to go without her, and, made that sacrifice in the budget. Yeah, $100 goes surprisingly quick when you're building on a budget, especially in Boros, where there may not be tons and tons of options for some of the things you need to do. I notice with a lot of options in Boros, there's a lot of things in that $3 to $5 range, which all great cards, but when you are trying to stay on a budget, it does get expensive quickly, so that is a thing. Here comes a Burnished Heart for the Gerrard. Flamekin Village comes in tapped, unfortunately. I don't think we have any... Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any elementals in hand. Let's get the Oreskos. Get a Plains. Then play the Flamekin Village. No elementals. And pass turn like that. A Gold Mirror did come into play, by the way, for the Winota. I actually think the mirror, the 2-mana mirrors, are going to be really good with Winota, because it gets you your commander on turn 3, and you can also attack with these when they're not making mana, so I think those are going to be really good. I've only got one in the deck right now. I just wanted to get a feel for it. I guess they're good early. They may not be as good late. They're just going to eat board wipes probably more than anything, but still something I'm excited about. Should lead to some fairly explosive plays, I think. Birds of Paradise for the Illuna opponent. Finishing up on what our deck is doing, so the thing that I really wanted to focus on with our deck, obviously humans that produce tokens, I think that's the thing that everyone's going to be doing with this deck, but I really wanted to focus on extra combats. Got a decent number of extra combats in the deck, especially the cheaper ones. We got Breath of Fury, and it's not my favorite extra combat card. In fact, it's not one that I really run much of at all, but it is in this deck because I think it can do work in this deck. But I've also got a handful of other extra combat spells, Relentless Assault, Aurelia. Godo's been in and out. Godo is kind of tough on the budget. I also cut Sunforger from the deck, which makes me super unhappy, but it's a thing that needed to happen, I think. 1, to stay on budget, and 2, to stay just kind of on theme. Sunforger is great, but it is pretty slow. And, you know, my initial impression is I think this deck can win very quickly. I'm thinking like just a decent build of it, maybe turn 6. Turn 7 with interaction from opponents. I think its ability to spiral is going to be very apparent. Now, this is my absolute first game with it. I haven't really seen much of it. I know one of our opponents just played a game with it a few moments ago. Well, that's an Agrath Marauders. Totally wanted that not in our hand, so that is unfortunate. A Lesson of Life's Bounty coming into play for the Gerrard. Ah, yes, all right. So after we take our turn here, we're going to talk about our opponent's decks because they got some fun stuff going on. So play this Plains. Play... Do we go Hero Blade holds a human? Do we just go for our commander? Yeah, I think I'm going to go for our commander right here. Let's try it. I know Hero Blade hold's so good. I'm going for Hero Blade hold. It's just so ridiculous. Anything worth attacking? There is a Winota from opponent. Would I actually block with the Arrest Ghost? Probably not. That being the case, let's do some attacking. Alright, so let's take a look at what our opponents are playing. Cadis is going to take this hit for 2. So Cadis is playing Illuna, Apex of Wishes, one of the new Mutate commanders. So it's got Mutate for 6, and it is a 6/6 flying trample. And it says, whenever this creature mutates, exile the top card of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. Yeah. So to me, my impression of this is that it feels like a better Intet the Dreamer is kind of what I'm getting out of it, but it is also a 6/6 with flying and trample, and the fact that you can like mutate onto some cool stuff could be pretty good, I think. I think you're going to get a lot of cool teamer flavor out of this. It's big and stompy, but also has the ability to kind of cast things for free out of the library, so I'm interested to see what he's got going with it. Moving on, we've got Ivan Black also playing Winota Joiner of Forces, and they're playing a non-budget build today, so we should get to take a look at some potential upgrades for the deck based on what our opponent's doing. They said they did play one game with it already this morning, so they've gotten just a teeny bit of experience with it, where I'm still in my very first game with it, so I'm just very interested to see what Winota can do and how everything kind of plays. He said in the chat in the first game that it looks surprisingly more fair than he expected. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. You know, maybe it wasn't the right hand. Maybe it just needs a little bit of tuning. Who knows? I do think there's a lot of potential for this commander to get out of control. And then finally, we've got Chaotix 2075 piloting Gerrard Weatherlight Hero. Come back to that in a sec. Opponent laying down a Heroic Reinforcements. Create 2 soldiers. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. Not terrible. Not terrible. Definitely something. One that I may have to consider for this deck. Alright, opponent's going to get some triggers right here. 2 triggers into Chaotix. Alright, we got 2 Winota triggers. Let's see what happens. Blade Splicer. That's a good one. That is a good one. Followed by a Knight of the White Orchid. Yep, Chaotix has got a bunch of lands, so they'll be able to get a land. Yeah, nice little swing right there. Opponent's got some value going. One of the questions that I have with this deck, and time will tell, is whether you really want humans low on the curve, because if you have them low on the curve, you're more likely to hit them when you don't want to. Knight of the White Orchid is definitely solid, though, but it's a little expensive at the moment, so didn't include it for budget reasons. But that was definitely a question I had while building this deck, is do you want humans in, like, the 2-drop slot? And I'm not convinced. Opponent is sending 1 our way. Did I just miss the block? I think I just missed the block. Yep, got talking. Accidentally passed through my block. So we go down to 39. I think we'll be okay. Anyway, getting back to our opponents, finally we have Chaotix 2075 piloting Gerrard Weatherlight Hero, and this is actually a Broodmoth deck. Now that's going to be an austere command, all creatures. Okie dokie. Thought something like that might happen, and yeah, not excited to lose the Hero Blade hold. Ooh, nice. Cadis is going to play Heroic Intervention and protect his one thing. Did play a Glowstone Recluse. Not really sure what he mutated on. Oh, mutated onto a Birds of Paradise. Yeah, okay, cool. So creatures getting blued up. Anyway, yes, Gerrard playing a Luminous Broodmoth deck. I actually helped him out with this one a little while ago in chat, and we kind of worked through some things because I've been playing a ton of Gerrard, so I made a number of recommendations for him. It looks like it's going to be a really cool deck, and I think the Broodmoth is going to be a big upgrade for Gerrard, because it's everything Gerrard already wants to be doing, which is sacrificing your creatures and re-triggering them, so looks super sweet. There's a Scavenger Grounds. Play the Scavenger Grounds. Those lands are good. What are we doing? I'm going to go Commander first. The choice is between Commander and Odric. Not enough red mana to give it haste right here, but we can fake like we're holding up a Boros Charm. Another thing with this build, I was trying to keep this build somewhat balanced. Winota does kind of force you into, like, just run a lot of creatures, but I did want to keep some amount of removal in the deck, some amount of utility with protection. We've got this Mob Rule as kind of a nice finisher, and also, you know, Mob Rule is really powerful in that it's kind of player removal a lot of the time. If someone gets way out of control, steal all their stuff and take them out of the game. Why not? Here comes Illuna Apex of Wishes into play, mutates onto the stack over there, so now it's the Recluse and the Birds of Paradise. Oh my, that text is small. Trying to read it. What does this one do? This one says, reach. Whenever this creature mutates, put 2+ counters on it. Okay, that's not the end of the world. And opponent also casts themselves a Landmore Elves. So ideally, we'll be able to get a non-human creature off the top of our library. Oh, another thing with this deck, too, I did get a decent amount of recursion into the deck. Got Angel of Glory's Rise and got Dusk to Dawn in the deck. I tried to make the removal one-sided where possible, at least in terms of the board wipes. That's something I may explore a little bit. This deck, you probably don't want to be hitting your own stuff, really, so that kind of leads me into a place of, like, Winds of Abandon. Maybe Amizium Mortars wouldn't be the worst thing. But I cut a lot of the traditional stuff like Route that I really like to use. Got, what's the token one? Hour of Reckoning? Got an Hour of Reckoning in here. So tried to make it a little bit more one-sided, especially while working on a budget. You know, if you're not working on a budget, just always have a Blasphemous Act on hand. You never know when you're going to fall behind and just need to blow everything up. But also this deck does have a decent amount of protection in it. We've also got Gerrard. Got Legion's Initiative, got a bunch of cool things like that. So here comes a Smothering Tithe. I hope the next card isn't a wheel. It's a Gerrard. It's a pretty good card. We draw planes. Opponent will get a Smothering Tithe trigger. Do we just let that happen? What are we going to do? We're probably going to play Odric Lunarch Marshal. Does it really make sense to give Odric haste? Probably not. Yeah, I think we can pay. So play Odric Lunarch Marshal. Hope to avoid board wipes for another turn. Here's a few other questions I had with this deck is how many humans versus non-humans do you run? We'll send this into Chaotix. He does have a Smothering Tithe. Makes him the threat, in my opinion. Also, that deck is Value City. But yeah, I guess that was one of the big questions I had anyway. It's just like, how many humans versus non-humans do you run? Do you run humans low on the curve? I tried to avoid doing that. How many protection spells do you run? Do you actually need removal and card draw in this deck? Or can it be built aggressive enough where you really don't need to go too heavy on removal and card draw? So, like, if Ivan was able to protect their position, which isn't, like, an easy thing to do this early in the game, turn 4, turn 5, where you're still trying to, like, reinforce and get stuff going, those are the turns where it's really hard for an aggro deck to protect itself against the board wipe. The new white card, the one that's free to cast and gives your stuff indestructible, may help a lot, but it's not yet available on Magic Online. But that's exactly what this deck wants to be doing. But that's kind of the 4 and 5 are kind of those pivotal turns where you probably need to cast your commander, but don't have the mana to hold up a Boros Charm or something like that. That's a great henge for opponent. I'm going to say they're probably on the chopping block now. Well, maybe we just fire the Chaos Warp in that direction. We'll see if anyone else has anything for it. Opponent sending the Illuna over our way. Yep, it's going to feel good. Oh, 10 commander. Wow. So if we borrowed that for a turn, we would get, what, flying and trample on all of our stuff? It's pretty good. Pretty good. It's power 4 or greater, power 3 or less on that. This Angrath Marauders being in hand almost makes me feel like I want Scroll Rack obviously out of the budget, but something like a Penance where you can shuffle it back to the top of your library, especially once the trigger goes on the stack. Doesn't seem awful. Also, you know, Penance is just able to protect you from stuff a lot of the time, which is cool too. Well, that's a cool card. I didn't see that one. Cavalry Pegasus. When it attacks, each attacking human gains flying until end of turn. Evasion going to be very, very important. There's a Gold Knight commander. This is one that we were talking about before the game started, and I'm curious to see how this one performs right here. So it looks like opponent's kind of setting up for their next turn. So opponent going to do some attacking. Loyal Apprentice and Cavalry Pegasus will both... No trigger off of the Apprentice, but flying from the Pegasus. So yeah, I think that's definitely one that I'm going to want to add into this deck. Evasion is very good. It's cheap. It's not a human, so it's all the things you want to be doing. Opponent takes a hit, goes down to 31. Here's a Karmic Guide. What is he getting? Just looks like the... probably a Burnish chart. That's probably what I'd go for. Cadis is thinking otherwise on the Karmic Guide. Gonna mana drain it. Ouch. There's a Mog Fanatic. Sacks it to do 1 damage. Sending the message. Would have held on to that personally. Oh, there's the Blasphemous Act. That is why... 2 board wipes. 2 board wipes. Those hurt. Those hurt. Arcane Denial. Alright, we're gonna have a board. I can appreciate that. Why didn't the Mog Fanatic come back? Gonna send the Gerrard over to the Illuna opponent. So down to 28 they go. Oh, right. Gerrard never left play. That's why. Yeah, okay. Duh. I'm an idiot. So Arcane Denial will trigger. Opponents will do some card drawing. And that does trigger Smothering Tithe. Ooh, that's a Swords. Are we paying for Smothering Tithe? What are we doing this turn? We have 5, 6, 7 mana. I'm so undecided about this mob rule. If we played mob rule on small creatures and attack with everything, we would get 1, 2, 3 triggers off of Winota, on top of just having a lot of damage. But Angrith Marauders can't be one of the things that we get, so it would do good stuff, but we don't have so much of a follow-up where I think if we wait 1 turn, I think life's gonna be better. As long as Chaotix doesn't try another board wipe, which seemed to be happening a lot, but... I mean, do we take the value? Do we take the value now? That's the question. Do we take the value knowing that it's not lethal? Opponents are fairly low on cards. 1 card, 2 card, and 4 cards. 4 cards is alright, but they're probably going to recast their commander. They do need a land, I think, though. Yeah. They're a land short. So I'm just going to go to combat. Chaotix seems like a safe place to attack. Maybe I'll just split it a little bit. I don't want to leave myself wide open. So I'm going to send Odric over to Chaotix. Actually, that being the case, we'll send it over to Ivan. Ivan's still at 40. And we'll pass like that. Thinking about Chaos Warp on the Great Henge. We don't have to decide until creatures are on the stack, so that is nice. Smothering Tithe trigger. Opponent's going to pay for it. Very nice. There's a mana drain trigger. They're going to have some mana. Soul Ring, that's fine. Rampant Growth, I'm fine with that. We can hold our removal for another turn. Sweet. Gonna send the Apex over to Chaotix. Yeah. Don't have to spend any of our removal right here. I love it. Big old hit. Down to 22. 10 commander damage. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier. The way I've got this deck designed right now, it is for like a turn 7 through 10 kind of thing. If you get a good start, it may be able to win quicker than that, but that's kind of where I've geared this deck for. Not trying to be the fastest thing imaginable yet. Wait, artifacts and enchantments? Yeah, we only lose a Signet. It's fine with me. Fine with me. Opponent's going to float some mana with the Great Henge. Why not? So, important stuff getting blown up right there. A bunch of mana rocks from our opponents. The Great Henge going down. Smothering Tithe going down. All good stuff. Oh no, we don't have a second red source. Oh, that does hurt. Should have played the mob rule last turn. Oh no. It's not good. Grand Abolisher. It's a human. Doesn't help our cause significantly. Here's a command tower. I would love a command tower in this moment. And Path to Exile on the Apex. Sure. Get the big scary threat off the board. Curious to see what happens here. So it looks like all 3 creatures are going into exile. Yep. So birds and glowstone into exile and the commander back to the command zone. And this game has stalled out a bit. No one's really drawn a lot of cards. A couple of board wipes, some removal flying back and forth. Things are starting to stall. Gerrard over to the Apex. Down to 27 and 6 commander off of Gerrard. Mistveil Plains, Blasphemous Act back to the bottom. That's a War Leader. Yep, we are a red short of casting that. Oh, that makes me so sad. Guess we just keep chipping away at stuff. Chaotix and Cadis are kind of going at it, so I figure I'll just let that play out the way that it is. We could chip Cadis down to like 22. I'm going to attack Ivan. He's still at 37. He's got a bunch of creatures in play. If they wanted to trade all their stuff for this, then that's fine. They don't. Down to 33 for commander. Illuna back to play. Gonna mutate it onto the Lenmore Elves. Sure. Oh, no mutate, just hardcast. Okay, now it mutates. Okay. Oh yeah, then they get to do the exile thing. I didn't see what happens. They must have put the card in their hand or something. I don't know.
Wayfarer's bauble for opponent, so Winota probably coming in next turn. Cracks the bauble. And gonna put Blade Splicer back on the bottom. Oh, that's a good thing. I cut Misfail Plains at the last second. I might need to add it back in for that. If you can potentially loop through your library, then there's definitely a reason to put them back. Draneth Magistrate. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So opponent's Winona is not coming back into play. That is a human, by the way. We need non-humans. We need non-humans and to draw into a mountain. That's what I'm going for right here. Gonna Misfail the Karmic Guide back to the bottom. That's fine. I don't really feel like sacking my land right now. We are behind on lands. Gonna send the Grand Abolisher over to Illuna. More instant speed interaction. Well, it's not what I was hoping for. We've got like all the removal in the deck in our hand right here. So now we just wait. We wait for a red mana. Things are a little scarier than they were the last turn. I'm going to leave back blockers this turn. Proud Wild Bonder. Trample. Creatures you control with trample may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. Super trample for your team. That's pretty good. Unfortunately, another human and a Shadow Spear. There's a Dryad Arbor in play, though, and that's not a human. Okay. Shadow Spear onto the Illuna. See where they want to point that. If it comes our way, we're definitely shooting it. Into Chaotix. You know, I'm hesitant about this life gain, but I don't know. We'll let it happen. I sometimes use my removal too early. Now we have a lot of removal, which may be a reason to use it a little bit more loosely, but... Ooh, the Evangel. Only 2 devotion. But that gives us, that puts some tokens in play. Ooh, that's going to pump everything up. All right, let's see where they want to go. Oh, yeah, that's 4 triggers on the Gold Knight Commander. Yeah, maybe that is a pretty good one for this deck. Need to work that in. They are huge. Ooh, everything into Chaotix. No one wants to be part of the Gerrard deck. Chaotix goes down. No one wants to see Gerrard or Luminous Broodmoth. All right. The question is, are we going to draw anything right here or not? We should probably use the Volcanic, but I don't know. I'm just going to wait. I know I'm giving up mana. There's the mountain. Yeah, that's why I didn't fire off the Volcanic. Oh, let's do this. Mob rule time. 3. Gain control of all creatures 3 or less. Oh, we've got a lot of stuff. Let's do some attacking. Mob rule's so good. I've been using it in some of these budget decks lately, and it is fantastic. Go to combat. Odric on the bottom. Thopter first. Gold Knight Commander will trigger. We'll just auto that. We've got flying and haste on everything. Yeah. Do some attacking. This is tough because I don't actually know how much damage we're going to get off of stuff. We should get... I mean, we got to get some triggers. So let's assume we get like 4 hits. That would be +4/+4 and everything. There's 5 that way. There's 5 that way. Let's make it 6. And 1 back this way. Hope this does it. It's going to depend on what we hit. Ooh, we can give a thing flying. Guess it doesn't really matter. Oh, that's a Silverwing Squadron. Let's get that one. Ooh, Adriana. We're not going to need to untap, so let's just get Pia Nalar. That's 2 more creatures. Gold Knight Commander will trigger. Yeah, Gold Knight's pretty good. Definitely going to have to add that one into the deck. Captain of the Watch. 3 more tokens. 3 more Gold Knight triggers. Kata says, I feel like both of you watch deck text for these. We whiff on this one. Let's get a Sky Knight Vanguard. We'll send that one to Katus. Gold Knight Commander will trigger. We whiff once again. And there's a Pia and Kieran. Yeah. Send that one back at Ivan. So they're at 32 and 33. That's 65 damage that we need to deal. I'm just curious to see what this number is going to be. It's going to be really large. -94, -77. That is so much damage. Oh my god, I'm getting the calculator out for that. I can't even do that math in my head. Somewhere around 237 damage if I did the math right. I may not have. Wow, that's insane. That is ridiculous. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that there was another Winona player at the table, which, you know, just goes really well for us when we can borrow all their stuff for a turn. So, you know, that's not always going to be the case. But, you know, if there's like an Elves deck or a Goblin deck at the, you know, some sort of go-wide deck that just has a lot of non-human creatures that you can attack with for a turn with your commander in play, it's going to be good. As far as the deck played, we had to play more of a conservative game. The other Winona was just out there faster. They had a Gold Mirror to start with, which was a pretty big deal. And then the board wipe started happening, so we kind of got swept up in the board wipes a little bit, and then I held off on the mob rule. I was really looking for it to be the finisher, whereas we could have played a more value game with it if we played it a couple turns earlier, and that's a decision that could have gone either way. It may have cost the game if we don't catch that mountain and we're just waiting the whole time. So overall, first impression, yeah, the deck looks sweet. Like I said, we had to play more of the slower kind of control game for a little while and hold back because the other Winona was just out there in force very fast. No matter how fast you think your deck is, someone's deck can always be faster if they hit mana rocks and whatever the case is. So you do need some amount of removal in the deck just in case. You never know when things are going to go wrong. So you don't want to run 0 removal. The question is how much removal. In this deck, it may be a little bit less. The board wipes you may want to kind of customize. We've got Hour of Reckoning. We've got Dusk to Dawn, which I talked about a little bit. The next step, if I can clear the budget, is probably going to be like Winds of Abandon as a nice piece. Again, Mizium Mortars is not the worst thing I've ever heard of, especially if you're on a budget. Do have Cleansing Nova for the artifacts and enchantments. Austere Command has gotten pretty expensive now, so you just need something that gets rid of artifacts and enchantments occasionally. You could run Hour of Revelation. I didn't feel super comfortable with it in this deck, but it's a maybe. It's a maybe. Maybe a few more protection spells and I'd be on board for Hour of Rev. But anyway, yeah, so if you're interested in this deck, be sure to check out the deck list below. I'm going to keep tweaking it a little bit. I think there's definitely some things I can do to clean it up, probably bring the curve down a little bit. I know there's a few things we got to get in there. We got to get that Cavalry guy in. Another thing I was thinking about too, you could probably just run like a ton of Hate Bears in this deck. And if you really wanted to make it like a pretty savage build of the deck and just, try to stop your opponents from playing the game. Apparently I can't spell the word cavalry. There it is. Cavalry Pegasus. Let's get that in. Let's get the Gold Knight Commander in. That thing was huge. Borrowing it from our opponent's deck. What's coming out? I have absolutely no idea. Tajik is cool because it is indestructible and you get past the board wipes, which definitely are a thing. Did we lose Gerrard? Did I cut Gerrard at some point? Oh, Gerrard's over here in the protection pile. What comes out for that? Hey, Mirage is cool too because you can copy 2 things you want and it's a lot of value. It's just good. It's just really good. Maybe the Cavalry is better than Adriana, but why not both? I mean, they're both good. They're both cheap. Anyway, I'm going to have to think about this for a little while. Anyway, I'm going to have to tinker with this for a little bit and figure out which things I'm cutting from the deck. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.